because today I'm actually very thrilled to have a very interesting and very young project with us called Thonic. And today our guests are Dimitri and Dave from Thonic. So welcome to the Ravens. Um, what we usually like to do before we jump into the project itself, we want to know more about you. So can you tell us maybe in a few sentences who you are, where you're from, and how you found your way into crypto?
Sure, I can kick us off here. Thanks, man. Thanks for having us, Manu. My name's Dave. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I did my master's in molecular science. I'm a serial entrepreneur who's grown a number of successful SaaS projects. And in any project, I wear a number of hats. And for Thonic, it's marketing. But ultimately, my strengths are moving projects forward.
Did we
I think we lost Dave now.
did we just lose him?
Yeah, I know he's muted. He's there, but muted. So let's see if he's able to unmute. But maybe in the meantime, Dimitri, you just
Yeah. Well, he sorts
There
out
we
his
go.
audio.
Sorry.
There you
Sorry,
go.
it's these headphones, guys.
no worries. But you're back.
Yeah, I got plugs ready to plug it in just in case. But yeah, I got into crypto late at the beginning of 2021. Only really dabbled with top 20 coins. But in addition to the underlying technology, I really believe that it presents an opportunity for new companies and useful tools to grow, as well as giving people a chance to make a lot of money with investments in ways that wouldn't otherwise have been possible. And this is why at Thonic we're focusing on education to bring in new money and really help demystify the space. And lastly, in my spare time, I like working on cars. I like Formula One, making music, and playing video games.
Nice. Thank you for introducing yourself. That's we always love to have the background of people here. So also Dimitri, word to you now.
Yeah. So my name's Dimitri. I'm also from Toronto, Canada. Born and raised. Like Dave, I'm an experienced entrepreneur. I launched several successful businesses and sold them over the years. I'm currently sitting as a partner and managing director for a digital agency based out of New York. I'm a seasoned professional. I've worked and developed and managed client projects in the US and international markets, tons of big brands. I've worked in business development and computer science industry for, I want to say, about 15 years. I've been involved with real estate and securities investments for about 14 years. And I've been dabbling with blockchain technology development for the last 2 years. I would say crypto I've been investing in the last 3 to 4 years. I also hold a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. And in my spare time, I enjoy bikepacking and playing the guitar.
That's interesting. So a lot of actually very, very, very insights into your real life. I like that. Now, if we look more into the space of your current project, Thonic, it's you two now here. So Dave already mentioned his marketing perspective. You mentioned a little bit. So can you tell us more what you are actually doing, what your daily tasks involve, and maybe also what the team behind you or next to you looks like?
Yeah, I can go first for this one. So my current role is operations, which is kind of a vague role, but you could summarize it kind of like CEO. And the reason why it's not CEO is because CEO is actually more specific than operations. Right now, like Dave, he's wearing lots of hats, and so am I. The team is about 5 of us. But in general, what I do is I oversee and give guidance to all the departments. I'm in charge of business development and finances. I also have, since I have professional experience in building software platforms, I will take a large role in overseeing our platform development. Dave?
Yeah. So neither of us really like titles too much, but I want to mention Dimitri is the founder. He pitched the idea to me initially, and my role is marketing, like you mentioned, from smaller ad campaigns, social media campaigns, our Reddit posts, larger partnerships. I'm working across all the fronts, just spread the word and help Thonic grow. And again, we're wearing a lot of hats. We do have other team members that are helping us on the back end and the platform development and with copywriting as well.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. So how did you guys find together actually?
So
yeah,
one of the other partners, I can answer this. So one of the other partners, Dan, he He was a longtime friend of mine, and I was in business with him for a few years. And I actually met Dave through Dan, and I believe Dan, you met Dan through school, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all education, business partnerships, a lot of history. Like Dave, I've known now for 5-6 years, and Dan, I've known for almost 20 years at this point, and Olaf another 10 years, Antonella 5 years. Yeah, there's a lot of history, and we go back pretty far.
You know, I've
Nice,
worked with
but
Dan on other projects too. So
you already worked together in the past as well. Okay,
Yeah.
that's very interesting, because I think that also shows the strength of a team, because if you know yourself from a private but also from a professional setting, and you're still continuing to work with one another, it usually shows that that the logic of never change a winning team. So it's super interesting to see that.
Yeah, when I came up with the idea and I was trying to put the team together, I was very specific on who I wanted, knowing who would be the best for the roles. So there was a lot of time I spent thinking who would be the best for a crypto project. Because crypto projects are very different than other projects. So I had to really think about it. But everyone that is on the team, we do all have history that dates pretty far back with other projects.
Very well, and I think now is the perfect time and the perfect bridge to actually tell the Ravens why you need specific people, or people that are that have a specific knowledge. Because if you look at your project, there is a lot of crypto knowledge that is needed. There's a lot of market knowledge that is needed. Can you tell us in a few sentences what Thonic is actually about?
Yeah, sure. I can take this one. So just taking a step back, for decades, the financial industry has been more or less the same. But just recently, in the last 10 years or so, things have been rapidly changing and people are being left behind. With the brewing economic storm, my team and I have really noticed that there's people that want to take advantage of new investment opportunities but aren't sure where to start, and are understandably fearful of things they don't understand and all of the negative news they hear about crypto in the news. So we're building a platform to help educate people and guide them on how to invest in the evolving crypto industry with confidence. Now, our platform will have how-to guides, courses, and most importantly, professionally researched reports on selected crypto projects, probably low-cap altcoin projects. And our goal here is to help new and experienced investors who wouldn't otherwise be able to take advantage of the space to invest smarter, not harder. Now, for the platform itself, and as a proof of concept, we've launched our own token as an educational tool.
So, Dave, it's actually very interesting what you're saying, because basically you're saying you're trying to bring people more easily to investments or investment opportunities. Are we only talking about people that are already in the crypto space, or are you also talking about people that are outside of the crypto space?
Yeah, it would be for both, but especially people outside the crypto space. We found people, not generalizing, but a lot of the money in the crypto space is recycled, going from one project to the other. So you see pump and dumps happening, and it's all the same money going around. So we want to bring people who aren't involved in that, who have good amount of money to invest into this space, to get some fresh money in and get people that again wouldn't have otherwise been in this space started in it.
Yeah,
And
and then sorry.
Yeah, sorry, just to give a little bit more on that. Before I started this project, I remember I went around to everyone I knew and I asked them how much they invest of their yearly salary in, like, how much they actually invest, right? And for everyone I talked to, collectively, there was millions of dollars that just the people I knew were investing yearly, right? I know a lot of people, so like just picture a couple thousand each. But at that point, my next question was always, how much are you are investing in crypto? And the number was zero. So there's so much money that people are investing in, and they're investing in mutual funds, they're investing in real estate, investing in all these different places, but they don't touch crypto. And it's mostly not because they don't believe in it, it's they just don't understand it or don't know how to get into it. So I feel like there's a huge amount of untapped money, and a lot of this money people depend on. This is their livelihood, this is their retirement funds. So if they go in there with a level-headed and with lots of education, they'll feel more confident investing a percentage of that money in the space. So it's, as much as we want people that are already in the space to invest, there's a huge potential on the people that are not in the space currently.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, because I remember when I first came into contact with crypto, which was actually 2012 or 2013, I think. And a friend of mine told me about this shady new way of investing, and I was just too scared to get in because I didn't know anything about it, and so I didn't get informed. But I think if you do a lot of work on information and on training, that is exactly how you get people more involved with the topic of investing, and also showing them that not everything is shady, but it can be very transparent if you do it right. And that's actually where you come in, and I like your idea very much. Now maybe we can jump a little bit on topics that you actually raise on your website. And there is one thing that really catches the eye when you come to your website. There is a headline, and that headline writes, "Invest in altcoins with confidence and get paid." That's super intriguing. I mean, everybody is anyways investing that is here in that space, but that way you're also drawing new investors in. But then again, you invest and get paid. What do you mean exactly by that phrase?
So, like we said before, our platform will be centered around educating investors. So members of the platforms will have confidence in investing once they have access to professional financial reports on cryptocurrency. So and we'll get into this a little bit more later, because there's a lot of topics we want to go through. But in general, these financial reports are essentially allowing people that could allows the average person to have all the research given to them in a nice and clear format. Once you have that, right, and you essentially can now make more educated and more confident decisions on what you invest in and what you don't invest in. So the line, invest in altcoins with more confidence, is once you have access to this information that's constantly being updated and available to you, you will essentially have more confidence in what to invest in and what not to. And then if you're investing in things that are doing well, you're obviously getting paid and making money off of it. And then there's another part of it, is that if you do, just say, you believe in the platform, but you're not, you only want to invest in Thonic, we do have reflections. So there's kind of a twofold there, that you can make money off of our reflections if you don't want anything to do with the platform. But if you are involved in the platform, you can learn more about other cryptos that you want to invest in. It's kind of an interesting concept in the sense that our crypto and our token is about you buying other tokens. People are always like, why would you want other people to get other tokens? Well, the whole idea is to get people more confident in investing more money in general. It's not just about the success of our token. It's the success of all legitimate projects.
Very well said. And actually, you built use cases for your token as well. So we will get to that later, I guess, on mechanisms, etc. But basically, to understand the general idea, you are offering a platform that is educating people, but on the other hand side, also offering them financial tools to support their decisions. Now, you will not, of course, bring everything at once out into the market, because you are also a fan of doing the basics right, and then rolling it out once by one. So we saw you are bringing out things in different phases. Can you tell us which phases these are, and which tools will come more or less when?
Yeah. So we broke it. There's multiple phases. And, in the crypto space is changing so frequently that we're constantly updating the timeline, right? And trying to, or not necessarily updating the timeline. The timeline's more or less in stone. It's what comes before what, and what we feel is more important. It kind of is always changing. But right now, what we feel confident of the release cycle is the first phase will be a pretty simplistic system that essentially just allows you to track your tokens across multiple wallets. Now, these tools like these already exist, but we do feel that it is important to have them, because once you start using our platform to invest in new altcoins and new projects that you learn about, you would want to see the growth. You would want to see the percentage growth. And since people are purchasing things in multiple wallets across multiple spaces, the first tools that we're going to introduce is essentially portfolio management, which essentially means that you load up all your wallets into the platform, and it calculates everything you purchased, when it was purchased, how much value was when you purchased, and then kind of gives you an overall percentage of growth over time. How much you're up, how much you're down, what tokens are doing better than others, and then actually comparing those to the reports, saying that this report said this token was bad, and maybe it's doing good, or maybe it's doing well. But you could at least see the comparison on things that the reports are information you're getting from the reports versus the actuals that you're having. So that's kind of the whole portfolio management part. And then the phase 2 of it will be the actual financial reports. So people always ask about this, and we talked about it many times in many videos, but just to reiterate here for this new audience, the reports are essentially will be written by financial analysts. We're not going to try to use, just, algorithms and stuff like that to give you some sort of score. This is actual people doing research. And what makes the difference between these people doing research and someone at home that claims they're doing their research is there's actually real financial report writers in the world. These analysts already exist. This is nothing new to the world, to be honest with you. This is new to crypto, though. So these analysts have existed for years, and Wall Street firms have been using these analysts for decades to actually know what they should be investing their money in. So every department, every company on Wall Street has a department called, the analyst department. And all they do all day is research specific securities or stocks or bonds or whatever their investment portfolios look like. And they write reports on a monthly basis. These reports are not publicly available. They use them internally and they use them for their clients, which all have deep pockets and willing to invest. So these analysts have already existed in the space, and professional analysts that do research is very different than some person at their home just Googling stuff. The process is different. The looking at how things are done, looking to see if a project is feasible, all these things require different types of skill sets and require different types of people. So for example, an analyst that, researches, oil is not the same one that researches retail. They have different scopes and they have different skill sets. And that's how essentially our analysts will be as well for the alt space. Depending on what the project is involved, we will get analysts to specifically know that industry the best to figure out if that project is feasible, if their finances are in order, if the team is actually educated enough to complete the project, if the timeline makes sense, all these types of things. And they'll be able to do this and put them all in an easy to read report for the end user. So that is essentially what we're trying to do with phase 2. And as you can imagine, that's going to be a big step because it actually involves real manpower. And we've been building these people up. I have contacts on Wall Street right now for companies I've worked with in the past that actual analysts have showed interest in donating their time to write reports. So we kind of have a small group of people already ready to go, but we need to build that up a little bit larger so we could cover more in a shorter amount of time. And that's essentially phase 2. Phase 3 is the course library. We've been creating how-to guides now to help people, purchase on Pink Sale, how to people to purchase on Pancake Swap. We've been creating all these guides right now because a lot of the marketing we did was outside of Telegram and outside of the crypto world. So a lot of people that I was trying to pitch to and say, you should buy on this pre-sale or you should buy this crypto. I had to create guides to this, and these guides have become very helpful, and they're already being circulated for other projects now already, which just shows how handy they are. So this is where the crypto library the course library comes in. We'll be continuing to create courses on specific topics to educate people on how to specifically do something. Someone that's never invested in crypto before, it is complicated. Someone that's done it many times, it seems easy. But someone that's never heard of any of the terms, doesn't understand how the wallets works, doesn't understand how for example, the blockchains work and all that type of stuff. Having step-by-step guides and courses to show them how to do things is very important. And we feel this is actually a part of the platform that'll be utilized quite a bit. And it'll range from basic topics on just how to install a wallet all the way to more complex topics like how to read a chart. Like reading events, chart patterns and expectations of chart patterns after you see a chart pattern, that type of stuff. So depending on, we're going to try to have the course library built out in the 3rd phase, but courses will be continuously released over the course of the platform as it goes on. Like every month we'll release a new course on a new topic. As the crypto industry continues to evolve and change, we'll continue to update our courses and add new ones. And then the last phase would be the brokerage services. So there are a lot of people out there that want to invest in altcoins, but learning curve is either too much for them and they're not interested in doing any courses. Like I've had a lot of people that were like, yes, I want to invest $5,000 in Thonic. And I was like, that's great. And they'll be like, but I don't want to know anything about wallets. I don't want to know anything about this software. I don't want to know anything. I just want to write you a check. And I'm at that point, I was like, well, okay, I'm not going to say no to your money. We'll invest it. And I'll sit next to you and I show you what to do and blah, blah, blah. But this is essentially where brokerage services come in. They already exist. Banks do this already. When you go to a bank and you purchase a mutual fund, they're essentially managing your portfolio for you. They're making the purchase for you. They're doing all that stuff for you. And then in your account, you just see that what you own. And this is where brokerage services come in. The people that want to invest in crypto don't want to miss out, but have no interest in learning anything in the space. The same way that, as much as I love stocks or people love stocks, they don't really care how the New York Stock Exchange works, right? Or what it takes for a bank to buy stocks from the New York Stock Exchange, right? There's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes in the current investment industries that people don't care about. And we kind of want to add an option for people that also don't want to care so much about that. And they just want to have their account in the Thonic platform where they can see the tokens they own and, just make a purchase directly that way without having to worry. So, but that would come later on again, because that takes physical manpower. And, there are also, depending on the country you're there's, legal things that would have to work through. So that's why it's one of the last phases. But that's kind of sums up the 4 major phases of this platform.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing the roadmap. I think it's super interesting because that's more or less the beauty of Thonic. Because on the one hand side, of course, you have a lot of utility, bringing in new people. But as we are here, we are all the nerds that already know everything about crypto, or not everything, but we are already very, very deep in that space. So, but even for people that are already very deep in that space, you're offering something that is super intriguing, at least for me, and that is the whole topic about doing research about altcoins. That's for me one of the most interesting things, and I think Dave mentioned that in the first talk that we had, where he said everybody always says do your own research, but not everybody is equally qualified to do that research, and not everybody actually knows how to do that research at all. Where to start, what to look at, what is good token, what is bad token, and all those kinds of things that everybody struggles on the one hand side because they lack the knowledge, but on the other hand side also because they lack the time to do that, because research is actually very time intense. So that's very beautiful mechanism, I think, or a very beautiful utility you're adding here, also for experienced crypto users.
Yeah, you pretty much got it right there. That it not only does it take time, it takes skill. I remember when like everyone on this call, I'm sure everyone here has been rug pulled at some point, right? Especially if you're experienced, and it's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. Even if you only lost, a small amount of money, it still just doesn't feel good. And you always sit there wondering, what could I have done to know better, right? And and at the end of the day, sometimes it is time and sometimes it is skill. Like, it could be various reasons why you decide to invest in something that ended up going bad. But the do your own research, Dave is right. It's kind of a joke and a lie. They kind of throw that out there as almost like a disclaimer, but it's not everyone could do it. And someone Googling a few Google searches, that's not real research. Anyone could do that. I have a 9-year-old that could do that. That doesn't mean that he's equipped to start investing money, right? So, yeah, that is essentially what the most exciting part for us is, and this is where the entire platform is surrounded. Is that phase 2 of the report library? I think that will help everyone. Even if you're a seasoned crypto investor, I think it will help everyone.
Agree, fully agree. And then I have one question that just sprang to my mind when you mentioned it about the brokerage services. What is the actual situation with licenses? Because we already saw in the past a lot of crypto projects that were actually posing as banks or wanted to also take out loans. But then when it comes to financial services, in certain countries you always need certain licenses. So
Yeah.
are you looking into that directly?
This is why this is one of the last steps, and this is one of the ones that we would not want to be. We don't want to be an exchange. We don't want to be a bank. We want to avoid these things like the plague. It just becomes way too complicated, and we don't want to borrow money. This is essentially what it's going to be: is purchasing on behalf of. So, and we're not going to make any recommendations to anyone, but if someone came and said, just say it's a form as an example, the interface is still hasn't been decided, but someone says, I want to purchase this exact amount, right, of this specific token, we could brokerage that for them in a legal way. Now, like I said, not all countries will allow us to do this, but most of them will allow us to do is where essentially we are just a middleman for someone else wanting to do something. But that doesn't mean we're taking out a loan. That doesn't mean anything. Their money that they send us will have to clear first, right? We would not make it, so it would never be an instantaneous purchase. Like think of stocks back in the 80s, right? There was no online, there was no online anything. So people couldn't buy stocks themselves. They would have to call a broker and say, hey, I want to buy this stock. And then they would get that purchase in after they send the money, which might take a day or two to clear. So it'd be almost in that kind of realm where we're brokeraging something for them, but we would never give them advice. We would never tell them how much to invest. And we would never borrow money to do the investment for them until their money comes in. It would be essentially almost like, if we could automate it, I would, to be honest with you, where they're just making the purchase and they're getting the tokens deposited at their wallet and that's it. But there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of logistics around that phase. And this is also why we moved that further down. We thought it would be nice to have that feature built in with the portfolio management stuff. But the more we wrap our head around it, it is definitely a later feature. But I do still think it's an important one for people that want to invest. And funny enough, people that want to invest in crypto but don't want to know anything about it, for some reason, they're the ones with the most amount of money, like ridiculous amounts. I've had people come up to me with, wanting to invest tens of thousands, and they're like, but do everything for me. And I feel really sketchy doing it because it's like, I really shouldn't be doing this for you. So once we work around the logistics around it, I feel like it will be a very handy feature to bring bigger dollars to the crypto industry without people having to know much about it. Or at least the altcoin. I know those people could buy Bitcoin and whatnot through their banks at this point, but altcoins is still very difficult and challenging for most big investors.
Yeah, totally. I think it's even sometimes very challenging for small investors if it's a new blockchain or anything you haven't heard about yet. I mean, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, they are very commonly used, but there are so much more jumping up out of nowhere every day. So and there are good projects also on other blockchains. So if you want to get there, you need a specific wallet, etc., etc. So I think if you have specialists that know how to do that or can at least dig deep into the ways of working, this could be a massive help. Maybe not only for people that are entirely new, but also for a crowd that is just very well used to Binance Smart Chain, but not yet accustomed to other chains. So it could also be a nice starting point. Very well. I think it's super interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about when we can actually start using the platform that you're building?
Yeah, so the date was originally supposed to be the end of this year for our alpha launch, but we didn't move it because we postponed the launch of the token itself. Like there was a dip in the market, we were wondering when we should do it, and then we said, no time than present, right? So there was a little bit of a delay there. So the new date for our private alpha launch will be spring 2023, and then by summertime we'll be in the beta. So for people that are investing in Thonic now, essentially within the first 3 months, the first 90 days or so of the project, those people will have access to our private alpha launch. Anyone after that will have to wait a few months after that for the beta, which would be, let's say, I think it's scheduled now for August 2023. So alpha will be spring 2023 to answer your question.
That's good, and I think it's always interesting to be one of the first to be in the project, because I guess you will have something like bug hunting and things going on, or at least people that can share their thoughts in the very early stages, so you can make adaptations and tests and learn from that. Correct?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Like, for example, when we started building a community, the idea of the course library, the how-to guides that turning into a real course library actually came from the community. People were praising us about all these PDFs that I was making that are showing people how to do things. And they're like, can we put these all in one place so I could just download what I want? Because I think, Dave, you got to correct me, but I think I've created like 8 of them now at this point for various things you could do. And some of them are specific to countries. There's one person I couldn't purchase or get BNB into a wallet for where they lived in Europe. and I created a guide for them on specifically how to do it from their country. And so yeah, I think I've done like 8 of them. So a lot of the feedback we get from the community is actually great. So what you just said there about the alpha, and that's one of the main reasons to get the community in early. Let us know what we're doing wrong. Let us know what they're liking, what they're not liking, and then we could adapt and change to make sure that when the product goes full launch, that we're essentially exactly the way we want it to be.
Perfect. And now, looking at the platform itself, will that be browser based? Will you have a mobile version of it, like a very convenient app, or how does it work?
So I'm like, I mentioned before, I've been building platforms for years, intranets for big companies like PayPal and stuff. So we're going to do this right. The mobile app and desktop version, the mobile version of desktop will be more or less built in tandem. There will be a small delay of the desktop being released before the mobile, and the only reason most professionals do that is to make sure that the backend API is exactly the way you want it to be, just so you don't need to make alterations to 2. But they should be more or less being released around the same time. I would say maybe a few weeks to a month apart at most.
Yeah, it makes sense, and a lot of companies actually do that to really ensure like bases are working first, and then they roll it out to other platforms.
Exactly.
Now, looking at the service you are offering, I mean, especially when it comes to hiring specialists that analyze tokens and then give advice, or also to building that library, I mean, that all costs money, right? And for a user, is it free, or is it a subscription model? And what happens if there is a subscription model? What happens with the money?
Yeah, so it's actually a great question. So the idea is it's going to be a tiered SaaS model, where it's a software as a service, where there's tiers and people pay a certain amount depending on the features that they have. Right? There's obviously going to be a personal tier, which is the cheapest and will be most likely the most popular for the average person that wants to invest in crypto. We'll also have financial tiers. From some of the companies that I've talked to, they've already seen or showed interest in their companies. Instead of having their own altcoin department, they're building their own. Why not just pay for a bunch of subscriptions for their entire staff? So that's essentially a finance team tier, right? Where one payment for 10 staff or 20 staff, depending what it is. We don't have the exact cost down, but let's say the average cost is just say it's $50 per user per month. Let's give that as an example. That would be for anyone that is not a Thonic holder. The one thing we're going to allow Thonic holders to do is get access to our platform. So if you're holding Thonic, our actual token, we'll have a certain amount that you need to hold. You will have access to the platform for free. And then also our earliest investors will get early access opportunities to the alpha and beta as well. So there will be a payment for people that don't want to own our Thonic token, which is fine. They could still have access to the platform. And then Thonic holders will get it for free. But regardless of how money will flow in and on all that type of stuff, you are right. There's people that we have to employ. There's a lot of systems in place. There's hosting involved. And all these things cost money. So we're going to try to automate as much as we can. But the idea behind it is the platform will be designed not to have any extra money at the end. We're going to try to build a platform that after all expenses, any profit remaining will be used to purchase Thonic and burn it. So the idea is that as the platform does better, the token will do better. And then if the token starts doing better than the platform, then money from that will be fed back into Thonic. So it's kind of like a circular motion. You could think of it as that they help each other and they help each other grow. So it's not going to be profitable in the sense that someone's going to take profit and run away with it. It's going to be profit that gets bought back and burned of the Thonic token. And right now, just to kind of give you an idea, when you're starting a business, as many people on this call probably have started in the past, the first thing in your mind is not to how am I going to make profit? It's about making it successful and growing it and getting your expenses covered, right? So right now, the idea of profiting is pretty much the last idea, right? And the mechanism that we build in to buy back and burn is essentially us ensuring everyone that this is not about us trying to maximize money on the platform. It's more about just growing it as big as we can, as fast as we can. And keep in mind, we also have full-time jobs that are funding our lives and the creation of this, right? We've all personally invested, all the members, a lot of money in this project already before the token was even released. And a lot of the money is being reserved to pay for these analysts. The way the analysts will end up getting paid, we're still working on those details, right? It most likely be per report and per view of those reports. So meaning the more that reports they write and the better they're written, the more money they'll make out of the platform. But the idea is that it's all automated as much as we can, right? That, you know, the payment of the hosting, the payment of the analysts, even marketing, a certain amount of money going to a marketing wallet that gets dedicated to marketing the platform. All that stuff gets automated at the end of the month, and then anything that's left is automatically bought back and burnt. I don't know. I kind of rambled on a little bit there. Did I kind of answer your question?
Did perfectly well. I think the idea of a circular economy is very appealing to any investor. Now, you mentioned that you and the team invested actually a lot, and you also raised funds in of course your pre-sale rounds. So, can you give us a rough idea of how much was invested into the project so far to set everything up?
Yeah. So it's hard to give you an exact number for me personally, because there was an initial money that I put in at the beginning, and then I also bought in the pre-sale, the pink sale, and then I also bought some more with everyone else, because, you know, I believe in my own project. Why not buy my own token if I'm going to buy something? So I'm definitely at this point north of $25,000, maybe closer to 35 at this point, personally invested. And everyone on the team has invested a decent amount of money. I can't speak for Dave exactly how much he's purchased at this point or bought into it, but I know his initial amount. I don't know, Dave, you want to?
Yeah, I think all told, it was you know, funding stuff up front and costs and investments again in the pre-sale and continuing to buy is probably closer to 15.
Yeah, so we're each member has invested different amounts. I'm the founder, so I've definitely invested the most personally. But that's what you have to do with a project. You can't just hope that, you know, people will just give you money in a pre-sale and then you could just run on that. Believe it or not, pre-sales don't generate as much money as people think. So to build a real project with, you know, with real growth, it requires a lot of funds. So this is why we all put in our own money to make sure that it's successful.
Yeah, I totally understand, and I think it's a very good sign that the entire team is actually in there with their own money, because it's also in your personal interest that you drive the project, but it also shows that you really believe what you're doing. So thank you for sharing and being so transparent on that matter. Now, since we are talking already about investments, can you maybe tell us a little bit, if I'm just an investor and not really caring about the utility, but saying, okay, this is a project, I think it will have long-term perspective, but I really very much only care about investing into Thonic. Can you tell us a little bit more about your tokenomics and maybe then also the usage, the utility of the token and what's happening there?
Sure, I can touch a bit about the tokenomics and usage a bit. Just from talking with members of our Telegram community, we're so reassured that a reflection token is just a good investment to have in your portfolio, because regardless of which way the chart's going, hopefully it's going up, you're making money. And not making it by staking it in the same token, you're making the USD, which you can swap to your currency and get into your bank whenever you want. In terms of the tokenomics, we have a 5% buy sell trade tax and a 2% tax that goes to the team wallet. Now, the team wallet tax will eventually be turned off, but we have it now set up to help fund our marketing. And again, as the platform grows, we won't need to take it anymore, and we'll have a marketing budget built into the platform. Now, the platform system that will take credit card subscription fees and pay out analysts for work, as well as pay hosting and make things automated. Dimitri, do you want to touch on how we're going to pay analysts, and are we paying them in Thonic?
Yeah, so the idea is that they get paid in Thonic and they could do what they want with it. But yeah, I think I touched on this a little bit already. But yeah, essentially the goal is to automate it as possible, as much as we can. So they'll get paid in Thonic. Hosting won't accept Thonic, unfortunately. I don't think AWS takes anything but US currency. But yeah, we're going to try to automate as much as we can, and the platform underneath the platform will essentially have a lot of connections to a lot of different things that will obviously be converting dollars and depositing in certain places to be paid for and stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that as well. Now, let me ask that $1 million question. It's usually said, and that $1 million question would refer to the competitive field you're acting in, because you're offering education, you're offering tools, financial services. Basically, there are different tools out there, maybe not that combined as you have it on your platform, but in one way or other, I could do my own research, etc., etc. How do you view the competitive field, and what do you think sets you really apart, saying for an investor you should really invest in Thonic and not somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you
ahead.
take this. No, you can start this one off. I jump in.
Yeah, one huge thing that we have going for us, we feel, is our team. That we have the diversity, we have the history and experience to get it done. It's one thing to have an idea. Everybody has ideas, but very few people have the abilities to act on it, and even fewer have the commitment to see it through. When things get tough. Any new project is fun at the beginning, but it's when it gets tough, and when the pavement hits the road, or whatever the saying is, do you have the time and the resources to brave the storm and the commitment to see it through? Now, I know Dimitri has already worked in with financial investors on Wall Street and Fortune 1000 companies, and they're entrusting him, well, they've trusted him before. So from his career, he's got these connections that gives us a huge edge over anyone else that we've seen. And just everyone on the team is very specialized in what they can do and what they bring to the table, and we've seen everyone do it before, so we know that they can do it again.
Yeah, and just to touch on what you said about me as well, I think my experience kind of speaks for itself. I've never mind all the different types of companies that I've worked with, like Forbes and PayPal and stuff, but just the Wall Street finance industry, from Blackstone and Blackstone subsidiaries, in BTIG, Cohen and Steers, these big Wall Street companies that I've worked with and built platforms for them. I kind of already know what I can and can't do and what I can and can't accomplish. Obviously, there's going to be challenges in this. There's tons of challenges. There's always new challenges, and that's what makes it great. But just in my career in the last 15 years, I've already accomplished a lot to to know that this is achievable, and I'm able to achieve, at least for the platform and the context that we have.
I think we're also focused on just getting it done. Leading up to this, we've been working on this project for over a year, trying to plan everything out, trying to time the market. When should we launch? Oh no, there's this bad news. There's this bad news. After all the FTX stuff and the bear market, we've really just concluded that there's no good time to launch. If we could take a time machine back into the bull market, sure, that would have been an even better time to launch. But there's always going to be something going on, and we just need to tune out the noise, and that's exactly what we're doing, and focusing on what we can affect and the road ahead.
Very well answered, and you just gave me the perfect bridge. Thank you, because I wanted to ask next, if you can tell us a little bit more about the next steps, in the very near future, that you are going to share with the community, that you are going to put out,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
that links kind of what makes you also special, and how your roadmap progresses.
For sure. So our main focus is going to be these seminars that we've been doing for the last 6 months or so. And these are really, really important for educating new people, and more importantly, bringing in new investors that are likely to hold. We found that this novel approach that almost no other crypto companies are doing, and it's been a really big success. And that approach is getting people in person to come to a library room or an office or a shared workspace or whatever, and give them the seminar that we've been tweaking and refining and building to introduce the opportunity, to dispel, myths about it, to educate them on scary words like blockchain and wallets and stuff that they might have no idea about, and to show them exactly how they can take advantage of it. And yeah, like Dimitri said, not only do the people that attend typically invest more money, but these are also long-term holders. And we get kind of obsessive over the BSC scan, and have looked and noticed that no one who's attended or bought from a seminar has sold. So this is great because they're not letting any FUD upset them or spook them out of the space. So, in terms of those seminars, right now we're working on scaling local seminars and continuing to refine the presentation. So, again, local seminars are just happening in Toronto, in and around the area. But our goal here is to branch this out internationally. We already have a strong community of people that want to help us in every way possible, and it's our goal of putting on both virtual seminars as well as doing in-person seminars in international locations with members of our community that we can sit on virtually, and then eventually they can start running as well. And in addition to the presentations that Dimitri and I are working on, he and Olaf are working on the platform right now as well. They touched on it in our last video update that we released just last week. And like he said, for Q1 2023, that's what we're aiming for, to have that alpha ready to go for early investors.
And just to touch a little bit more on the seminars, it's just another form of education. I get people in a physical room. A lot of it's through word of mouth, and I go through them all, like a long presentation explaining, from past investments and standard investments, like, purchasing, US dollars and, Apple stock or something like that, to how things have evolved and changed to purchasing crypto. And I kind of take people through this kind of journey of, how investment evolved. And then I start going into the more specifics of how crypto and crypto projects are now a new way of thinking of, startups, and how startups are getting funded, and that notion, and how you can invest early. So we kind of go through this deck, the seminar that Dave just explained. It is very just another form of education, which is what Thonic is all about. And exactly what he said, these people are investing large amounts of money and they are holding long. Like if the actual whole FTX thing, we were actually very surprised on how people reacted. One of the most exciting things that I found is I actually called up a lot of the people that were in my seminars just to make sure that they were, comfortable and not worried about this whole FTX crash. And half of them were like, well, what's going on? Like, they didn't even know or care. They think of it as, I bought it, I put it aside, and now I want to look back at it in a year or two. And that's kind of the mentality, which is fantastic. And others, which I thought were even great, a better situation, they were like, well, shouldn't I be buying more now? Like, the seminars and education actually work, because when the market is down, that's actually when you're supposed to be buying. You're not supposed to be buying when it's up. That's actually not the way to invest. So the seminars seem to be working, and this whole education just proves that people can invest in crypto very smartly if they know exactly when and what not to do.
Very well. Thank you for sharing that. And I think what's also interesting, because you touched upon it already on the one hand side, Dave, but also you, Dimitri, touched upon the contacts that you have in that space. On one hand side, on the real world of investments, but also in the crypto space. So can you tell us also a little bit about the partnerships you already built?
Yeah,
for
for sure.
Thonic?
Absolutely. Yeah. So someone did a video for us. He's a sports betting influencer. We reached out, got to know them, and are looking at doing a few more promotions with them in the near future, as they have a really large and engaged audience. We're still looking and being careful to select our other partnerships. Manu, I know as you can attest, we kind of gave you a hard time when you reached out to us through Telegram. We kind of have a Telegram PTSD with being scammed ourselves, and I'm glad you were persistent. And we realized that you're a real person with a great community and a great idea here. So we are being very picky, looking for other partnerships, but we do have some that are still in the early stages. In terms of Sorry, go ahead, Dimitri, you can say.
Yeah, I was going to say, and to touch base on like some of my past connections and stuff that, or some of my current ones that are still going on. What's great about these guys is it's not just about me knowing these people that have already said that they will dedicate some of their time to help write reports on specific industries and specific cryptos, but also that we're getting guidance from them. These are some report analysts and reporters have been writing reports for 20 years, right? That's knowledge and history there that we can't ignore, and having that in our back pocket is always very helpful in making sure that we make the right decisions moving forward. Sorry, Dave, for cutting you off there. Keep going.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And then in terms of other marketing plans that we have going, we've been working with a business networking company called BNI to grow through word of mouth. Now they're a large international organization of business owners who have money and are looking for ways to invest it. And reaching out and working with them was actually recommended to us by a community member, and so far it's been very promising. And we're also in talks with other larger media companies on ways to further promote the educational seminars once we're ready to scale. I'm sure as anyone here who's worked on promoting a crypto project knows that you can't usually go through traditional channels, which is frustrating, but it kind of adds another barrier to entry that if you stick with it and have the creativity and focus, that gives you an advantage over everyone else that's just trying to throw something at the wall and see if it sticks, and then gets bored when it doesn't.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. And you are right. It was difficult to reach out to you, but on the other hand, I totally understand why it was difficult, because you're actually trying to make that space a little bit safer, to make it more transparent, to make it more fraud-less. And I think this is only possible when you have certain security and safety measures in place. And that's actually also why we tried to reach out to you, and why we are so happy that we had you on boarded in the end, because that's exactly what we are also trying here with Raven's Territory, to only have partners in projects that we truly know that they have a sustainable roadmap, that they are here to share transparency and the same values that we have. And we see that totally in Thonic. So also thank you for you being here, and thank you for then being open for discussion with us. Now,
Absolutely.
Dave and Dimitri, I think our community, the Ravens, would love to ask you some questions directly. Before we open to the community, let me ask one final time if there is anything else you want to share before we start with the community questions.
Yeah, I think the last thing we wanted to touch on, which I'm hoping everybody got, is that this project is a long-term hold. That if you're thinking on getting in, to think of it on that time scale of at least 1 to 2 years. And we understand everybody has a moment that they want or need to get out, and if your moment is at least a year down the road, then we think you'd be a great fit for our project and community.
Yeah, like we're never going to shy away from someone investing in Thonic.
Yeah.
But you'll be amazed what type of responses we get in Telegram and stuff of people just wanting it to pump just so they could make a little money quickly and get out. And at the end of the day, that doesn't really help a sustainable business. And so we just wanted to reiterate that this is not a pump and dump. This is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. This is going to essentially our lives for the foreseeable future. I can't picture a time in my life of not having to deal with this at this point in my life. So just keep that in mind, that if you're looking for something for real growth over time, this is the place to be.
Nice statement. Thank you. Now, I think it is time to open to the community. Just a note for all the Ravens in the call. Today, there is lovely giveaways sponsored by Dimitri and Dave. So if you want to win, of course, we want you to ask very well researched and good questions, but also please join the channel of Thonic, because only then you will be eligible for being a winner of the giveaway. Okay, that's so far for my remark. And then I would say, guys, please unmute your mics and ask Dimitri and Dave directly. They are here for you, and they really appreciate hearing your lovely voices. And with that, I will shut up now.
Hello.
Hello,
Hey.
Lucky.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, thank you very much for the great opportunity. Okay, so quickly, I want to ask about the Alpha platform that will be launching very time soon. For those who be looking forward to learn some things in the space. So do you will you be like having like a future where users can switch between languages? There are so many languages, so to better understand what they are learning, will you be having features that will support multiple languages in the platform?
I can answer that. Yeah. So we're going to be building it from the start as a multilingual platform. What languages are supported will be rolled out over time. So that's something that that's still being discussed. We were thinking of doing polls of our user base or people that are most interested to figure out where they're at or where they live, so we could actually determine what languages come first. But to answer your question, the platform will be built as a multilingual language platform. And obviously English will be the first one, and then we'll be adding, frequently more and more languages.
Interesting. And my last question is regarding the token utility, which is the BUSD rewards. So in a situation whereby there is a low or no transaction in the contract, does it mean that the BUSD reward will cease, or like will be reduced, or how is it going to be like maintained when there is low or no transactions in the contract? And for the token bond, for how long will it take the project for it to bond the 95% of the total supply as stated in the website?
Yeah. So there's the to answer your first question, the amount that the 5% right now, it's I don't remember exactly what's in the contract for what doesn't get affected, because obviously very small amounts don't grab that 5% because it's just too many transactions. I have to get back to you on that one, which I could just message you in Telegram. But there is a cap of how small an amount needs to be affected for small transactions. For your other question about the 95%. So since the platform is going to buy back and burn, it all depends on the success of the platform. If we have a mass amount of people right off the get-go that are paying subscription fees, and we actually all the contacts we have, all those businesses actually sign up many of their employees to use it, you'll see that burn happening a lot faster and a lot more. So you will get down. The idea of putting a cap on the 95% is at some point, I don't want it. That's kind of a rough number. It could take years or it could take months. There's no way of really knowing, but it all depends on how successful the platform is. So the more successful the platform is, the faster it'll go down to 95. I would want to cap it. So I do feel like there's something to be said about a token that has a certain amount of tokens that cannot be affected anymore, like burn essentially stops. But as everyone knows on this call, the more that you burn and the smaller the market cap gets, that means it's harder to burn. Essentially, the buyback and burn will continue to get less and less. So to get to that 95 might take years, but getting to 50% might only take a year. So keep that in mind, that the speed that it happens actually slows down over time.
Very interesting. Thank you very much for the answers.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else who wants to speak up? If not, I'm going to select a few questions from the chat, and we will see later if there's somebody who is as bold as Lucky. Okay, then I see one question in the chat from Burki. He's asking about the goals you have set for different phases of yours in terms of holders and followers. And he says, well, phase 1, phase 2 seem complete for Thonic. You have targets like 500 holders and 2,000 Telegram followers. And for in phase 3 and 2,000 holders in phase 4. What are the preparations to make you achieve these goals?
So I'll let Dave answer this, but I want to make something clear beforehand. The phases in the building of the platform is different than the phases on the website that encompass the platform and the token, right? Those are, you got to believe, they're kind of like two separate projects that are going in tandem. So the website shows both of them mixed together. And this sounds like more in your marketing realm there, Dave, to answer.
Yeah, in terms of the holders, that's a good question. For us getting there, it's just continuing with our word of mouth, and it's going to be through the educational seminars. We've got such a great feedback from anyone that we really talk to about this, that they want to learn and they want to get in, and usually 95% of the time after they learn about it, they want to buy some too. So Dimitri and I are going to be doing at least 2 workshops a month locally, and this is going to scale pretty quickly once we get going, for it to happen virtually with bigger audiences, as well as happening internationally. But again, we want to make sure that whenever we do this, we're still giving that personal approach and connecting with everyone that's in the seminar with us to make sure that they feel confident about it, that we answer any questions that they have. And then, as soon as that happens and they see that they're making money from their reflections, at least, we know that it's going to spread really quickly through word of mouth, and one person's going to tell another. But yeah, just doing ads to fill these, doing promotions, doing newsletter blasts, and working through the BNI networks are what we're looking at in the short term to get us to that at least 500 holders.
All right, thank you. I will select and rephrase another question. It's by Hang Hao, and he's basically asking, how do your experts analyze the currencies or tokens to invest in, especially in a market like we have right now in the bear market? And I will add to that question, maybe, how do you ensure the quality of these researches?
Yeah, so maybe I can answer that a little bit. So the first part of the question is, how do we pick them? Like, which ones are we going to pick? Is that the first part of the question?
Yes, more or less, exactly.
Yeah. So there's this catalog of ones that we really want to do, that we've been kind of holding on to, and we'll probably tackle those ones first. But I believe we want the community to speak up in these situations. I think part of the platform, when the report library comes up, is we're going to have a list of maybe 100 that are in the backlog that people could vote on to get pushed up higher on the list. And every day when a new report, or every day when 2 or 3 reports get written, it varies which ones get released based on what the community is saying. So think of kind of like a polling system that members of the actual Thonic platform can pick and choose, or help us pick and choose which ones get done first and which ones don't. And for the second part of how do you ensure what these people know their research, well, it's going to be just like doing job interviews at the end of the day. These people are going to need a background. So I'll give you a perfect example. If there's a token out there that someone created, and say it's a casino, it's some casino token, and they they have this plan to build a casino using their token, and it's backed up, like whatever their platform may be. The person that writes the report will have to be someone that actually knows and has experience in the casino industry. It won't be someone that knows about baseball, or is an expert in baseball. That just doesn't make sense. So it would have to be someone that focuses on that. And the report writing, you have to understand, these reports may actually have more than one author. So the part that talks about the project itself, in this example, the casino, we'll have an expert that knows about casinos to answer the validity of that project, for that part of it. But there'll be another section that has to do with finances. If they're talking about, oh, this is how much money we're bringing in, this is how much money we made in the pre-sale, and this is how much money we're going to use to spend on this, we'll have a financial expert look at that, and an accountant look at that and be like, okay, their numbers don't add up, right? And they're going to run out of money before they build this thing, right? Because the platform will have the analyst. One report might have 2 or 3 different people that are writing it, from the expert in the space versus an accountant, versus someone that, like a software expert, knowing that if some software needs to be written, knowing how long it takes. Like, for example, if this casino that they're coming out with, that they haven't started, say, oh, we're gonna have it all built within 30 days, right? And we're gonna have these features. I know I've built so many projects, I'll know if that's feasible or not, right? And that's something that could be detailed into reports to know if this is an actual something that's feasible and can be done. And sometimes it will be, and sometimes it won't be. But these reports will essentially just give you the facts of, their timeline, the amount of money they have, what they're trying to do is possible, not possible in, with the money or funds and timeline they have. And that will essentially give people more insight on should you invest in this or not. Right. And it's always a good thing to know early on if what the person's preaching has any backing to it whatsoever. Right. A lot of people of us get lost in the romance of a new project and a new idea, and they don't really think about, what it's going to take to deliver it. And I think that's what the reports will essentially really dive into and give insight on. And they will be written by multiple people, and they would have to be experts in that field of the part they're writing about.
I think just adding to that too is we want to keep our analysts honest as well, and that just because someone's writing a bunch of reports doesn't necessarily mean they're a good analyst. We want to see if what they're reporting on actually came true, and we'll be doing our own reporting on our reporters or on our analysts to see which ones typically have good picks, which ones have bad picks, and we'll adjust who's on the roster from there too.
Yeah, very nice. And that's actually what you just mentioned is super interesting, because the bias one has because you have a specific interest, like, I don't know, environmental friendliness. You will be inclined to evaluate a project that is talking about environmental friendliness maybe higher than another one, because you just are into that idea yourself. And if you have professionals behind it, they have a more objective view on those kinds of investments, if they analyze everything via the same schemata. So that is actually a very good approach. Now, will we also be able to learn who those analysts are? Or is that a part of the back end that is not transported to the front end?
No, I think there'll be an author section of every report. Be honest with you, there's a lot of these firms that I've worked with, there's some of their clients only invest in projects that specific analysts report on. So I think it's very important that it is transparent, that the authors are detailed at the bottom of and have profile pages that explain their credentials and why they are an authority in that subject. I think it's very important because, if you notice that one analyst, every time he writes a report and he gives good facts about something, you make money, you'll be more inclined to, invest in projects that he's reporting on.
Nice. Yes. Thank you for also that transparency. All right. So I will not ask again. Is there somebody that wants to unmute? I will count down from 5 in my head. So speak up if there is a question.
Hello, guys.
Hello. So I think, Ripper, that was you, right? I recognize your voice, and also Praise wants to ask something. So Ripper first.
Okay, so I just want to know, what are the strategies the team used to ensure adequate liquidity?
You're talking about the token liquidity?
Yeah.
So we have the 1% going to liquidity, and we have our liquidity locked right now, and we've already gotten feedback that we should lock it for longer. I have no problem locking our liquidity even longer than what it currently is. I think it was a minimum requirement with Pixel to do a certain amount of days or something like that, and we just did whatever they required. But to ensure the liquidity stays, we are planning to relock it for several years now. But we also have the 1% going in as well for every transaction. I understand that after once a token reaches a higher level and is spread across multiple exchanges, you need less of that 1% going to liquidity as it grows. But for now, we have no interest in removing that 1% to continue to make sure we keep growing it.
Okay, but also, how has the team experience and background been effective in the success of this project so far?
Sorry, I didn't get that question. Can you say it again?
I said, how has the experience and background of the team been effective in the success of the project so far?
I think the question is, what is the experience of the team for building that project?
Oh, well, I have 15 to 20 years in building software platforms. I've built platforms for you could go on my LinkedIn and then find the company I work for currently, and you could look at the case studies that we built. But I've done work for the Hudson Bay Company, to Forbes, to PayPal. I built platforms for all these companies, and either sites or platforms, intranets, and all that type of stuff. So you could check out my LinkedIn and then look at the companies I worked at and look at the case studies. A lot of them are financial firms, and there's a mixture of healthcare as well. I've done a lot of work with healthcare. Dave could probably talk about his credentials on marketing.
Yes. Yeah. I've been doing marketing for 12 years, at least, and just working on different SaaS businesses of my own, each of them getting further and further to a different stage and being more and more successful. But yeah, I've worked in marketing for a number of different verticals, from construction to a lot in real estate to some apps, all sorts of ones. So I can really market for whatever I need to. And through all that experience of managing, multi-million-dollar marketing spends, I know how to make things work. I know how to track the numbers to make sure that we have a good ROI on what we're marketing. And I know how to market with real lean budgets as well, and get creative and use sweat equity to get the most out of what we have available to us.
Hello.
Thank you for answering the questions. Martin, I saw you wanted to ask something. Let's ask
Yes.
Praise first, because she was
Okay.
first, and then I remember you to ask next.
All right.
Hello,
Praise,
good
if you
evening,
want, you
sirs.
can go.
Hey.
Okay,
Hello.
good evening, sirs. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My question is, since there's will there be an option for staking Thonic, since there will be a 5% reflection of burst for holders? And will the burst reflection be for every holder of Thonic, or will there be a minimum amount of Thonic you have to hold for you to get the reflections? I don't know if you get it.
Yeah, I think so.
So there is a minimum. It's actually very, very small right now. I have to double check. I can send you those numbers. It's built into the contract. I don't recall what they are, but it's right now it's very minuscule, and it is adjustable from what I understand. So I actually think it's only like a million or $500,000 Thonics you need, which is only like $10 or something like that, or maybe less. So there is a minimum, but it's pretty low. Let's just put it that way. And I think, again, our developer did it this way to ensure that there's not just an insane amount of transactions constantly going for tiny little amounts. That's essentially transaction bloat is what they call it. So he was trying to avoid that. If we notice that the price continues to go up really, really high, we'll adjust that amount to make sure that it's fair to people. If one day that $500,000 Thonic tokens costs $1,000, we'll definitely adjust it. But right now it's only worth, I can't even tell you what it is. I have to look at the chart. But
yeah, so like $1 million is about $5 US.
Yeah. So
how about the staking?
Sorry, go
Hello.
ahead. Hey, yeah.
I said, how about the staking options? Will there be staking options for it for Thonic for now?
Right now there's no staking options, and we don't have plans right now. It doesn't mean that might not change in the future, but right now we don't have plans for staking options. And one of the main reasons for this is the entire project is supposed to be situated around the platform and the education around it, and the token is essentially a utility for it that just kind of like sits with it. We didn't want to put all the effort into the utility doing all the magic, but make it the platform. So we left it out for now, because we felt the simplicity of the token makes sense to make all the focus on the platform. If that changes in the future, it doesn't mean we can't enable that or turn on staking or come up with a staking system that will benefit. But right now the idea is no.
All right, thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you for asking.
Thank
Hello,
you, Praise.
everybody.
And now Martin. Yes, hello, Martin.
I have a question, but not really about crypto. I saw your logo looks like nearly from Rafael Nadal. Is this legitimate?
Uh, I didn't see it that way. We got a professional designer to design our logo. It's supposed to be more like a bull with that looks also like a T for Thonic. I can see the resemblance now that I just Googled it right now. Maybe we need to make a small adjustment, but that wasn't intentional. No, it wasn't. Are you a fan? Is that why?
No, I'm from Switzerland, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that wasn't the intention, but we might have to make an adjustment now that I see it. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay.
So good for bringing it up. Thank you, Martin. Very good.
It might have saved us a future lawsuit, so that's good.
All right. Is there anybody else who wants to speak up? Otherwise, I think we already answered a lot of questions here. I see most of the questions in the chat also have been answered, but there is one that I still want to ask. If nobody raises their voice, I will just ask it. The question is from Minu, and he or she is asking about the frequency of publishing reports. So is there a plan to update existing reports after a certain time, and how frequently are you issuing new reports on tokens?
Yeah, so the goal is to release as many as we can, but obviously since that requires manpower, it's obviously going to be a slower. It's going to be more like exponential. It's going to start slower, and we're going to continue to do more and more. I think when we launch the platform, we'll be only releasing maybe 1 or 2 a week, and then doing quarterly updates. And then my goal of what I want it to eventually be, I would like to see 2 or 3 released a day. That's essentially where I would love to see the platform go. But to have that, we would need a staff of, it takes weeks to create one of these reports. So if you need to understand that if it's taking a week, that's 3 people working for, just say 2 weeks to create a single report. And if you want to release 2 or 3 a day, that's, you're looking at dozens and dozens of people working. So like I said, to start, it will only be maybe 1 or 2 a week. And then ideally we grow to 2 to 3 a day. How often they get updated. So this is something that's come up a few times. Some people are like, oh, you should be updating them monthly. Sometimes there's not enough news on, projects that, there's not enough to report after a month. So I think we're going to probably start with quarterly, unless something happens. If there's a big crash, if something's going on with a specific project, like for example, if there's a project that we did a report on that one day gets bought out by some bigger company, we would definitely update our report on the news and what to expect. So I think the updates would probably most likely be quarterly, but with an exception of if something drastically happened with that token for some reason.
Amazing. So Dave and Dimitri, I have to say, it was really a pleasure for us having you here today, because we think that your and our vision is very, very closely aligned. So we are actually happy to have found another knight that is riding next to us for making this space so much more transparent. And we are super thankful that you have been here today and sharing all those lovely insights, because I really appreciate the openness you shared with us today.
Great. Thanks for
sure.
having us.
Yeah.
Before we close off, I would give the word one final time to you. If there is anything else you want to share, if you want to remind the investors that now is a good time to jump into your channel, to jump into Thonic, because early investors get bonuses. Feel free to share anything what you want to share.
Well, I talked a lot, so I'm going to leave this to Dave to say something.
Yeah, we welcome anyone that's looking for a great project. We think we have a really good community that is full of great people that are asking good questions and sharing their ideas. There's always so much to do in so many projects, and each of us with our regular jobs can't feasibly be looking at everything. So that's why we rely on our community, who's been giving us great marketing tips and proofing things, and we're sharing ad creative and all sorts of different things. So if you'd like to join, you're more than welcome to check out our Telegram channel. We do regular Reddit posts on our subreddit, the r Thonic, and Dimitri and I do video updates every other week as well. So please join the community. If you want to become a holder, we would welcome that as well. But yeah, just wanted to thank Manu and the Ravens for having us here as well.
Thank you very much for being here. We are super happy to have found a new partner. And yes, every question that hasn't been answered for today, feel free to join the Thonic Telegram channel, the Thonic channels to be with the team, get all the updates, but also, of course, ask your questions directly to Dave, to Dimitri, and the rest of the team. They will be happy to help you. And now we are going to wrap it up. We're going to close the call, but one more hint, we are going to start the Ravens game right after our session today. And with that, thank you so much for being here. And we wish you all a pleasant rest of your day or a pleasant evening. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.